Oh, howdy y'all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for a little bit of a PathOfExile experiment. That is right, today we are going to be scaling up the Mythic Orb experiment that I was doing recently. This time we are going to be attempting 200 Mythic Orb crafts. All of them will be on Shaper influenced 2-stone rings, ones that could become Call of the Brotherhood, ones that could become one of the Rubbish Barracks rings, or that could be utterly destroyed. The goal here is going to be to make 2-stone rings that are Shaper influenced because those have some unique utility in conjunction with the unique chest piece, the Eternity Shroud. Now, my speculation here is that I'm going to hit about 15 of these, but honestly, I don't know. There are no really big sample sizes out there of Mythic Orbs of late, and there's been a bunch of changes on them since patch 3.19. So we're going to try and figure that out and work out what goes on. Just a quick note that I have had some PC dramas of late, and that is the reason for the lower quality upload than usual when I'm streaming. That is because my graphics card is currently sitting here like a bad piece of faulty electronics, and it is going to have to be dealt with. So that's the reason that we're running on a lower resolution than we normally would. Anyways, we are going to now be scouring all of these because the first step is just preparing them. We'll go through the preparation process here because we're doing a couple of things that are a bit unusual. But what we're going to do is we're going to do these in lots of 50 because 50 of them will fit in the inventory at once. And that's just a way of making sure that we scour everything. Then we're going to quality them up. Then after we've done that, we actually have to elk them again. I have checked through these. None of these are particularly good. Like there's some of these that might be borderline sellable, but all of them were sourced as items that weren't selling. So it's not like anything here is particularly precious. Now we are going to be applying the Turbulent Catalyst, which is one of those not very interesting things. Oh, how'd you go, HTM? Did you track the thing? Legendary Nightfall, the purpose of the Shaper influence is for synergy with the unique chest piece, the Eternity Shroud. Eternity Shroud actually cares about things being Shaper influenced. That's also the reason that if you do hit, the reason that we're doing all this quality here is because if we do hit, then the item is much more valuable with 48% conversion. Really, people aren't going to be interested in using it if it's only 40%, because Eternity Shroud builds will ideally want to use 2 of these that are both Shaper influenced. And then, as well as getting all the conversion from Lightning into Cold that you get intrinsically on Call of the Brotherhood, as an additional bonus on top of that. Hey, Notagoose, thank you for the super chat. I am sitting out BPL because I'm going to be running my own private league afterwards. BPL is a fantastic event. I highly recommend giving it a shot if you're someone who has a fair bit of time to spend on the game during the next weekend. BPL is very much for people who do have time, as it is something that is not it's not something you can have a lot of fun in unless you're going to be able to play for at least 30 and ideally 40 hours during the 4-day period of it. But if you're in that situation, definitely do give it a go. I'm going to be running what I term BPL but chill is the goal of my event. What we're going to do here, just to make sure that we did succeed in qualitying everything, we can hold Alt over things inside our stash tab now, and it will remind us that we have 600 of these left. That means that we did succeed in qualitying everything. We didn't miss any of them, because missing these things is painful. So now at this point we are going to do the really boring part of elking these things again. And again, I'm just going to dump all of the spare elks into this. Oops. And dump all the elks back in here because they're going to all be spare. We are elking these again because we're going to be using resonators on them. Someone wants to buy something off me. I'll just quickly handle that. I don't even remember what this item was. This is one of my dump tabs. Oh yeah, that's not a bad item. I'd forgotten I had that. So this is something that I got out of a heist recently. This person might be paying me with something that's going to be awkward with these things being in my inventory, so I'm just going to drop a bunch of them back so that if they do end up paying in raw chaos, I've got space for it. hope they haven't thought that that was one mod. I hope they haven't miscalculated. Oh no, they have got the mods right. So that was something that I knew when I saw that in a heist that it was likely sellable, but I wasn't absolutely certain it would move. And I then threw it into a dump tab. Crawlia, it is real. Any problems with the stream are because of the graphics card issues I've got. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case in the short term. Unfortunately, it's going to be the case in the short term until I get my next YouTube payout, at which case I'm looking into what I'm going to do from there. Oh, we're getting like, as soon as I start streaming, it's like ping after ping after ping for things that haven't sold in days. This was a dump tab previously. I have no idea what this item is. Oh, 60% rarity. Yep. Perfect rarity. Oh no, that's right. That was a Giannis craft. That Giannis mod. That was an interesting one. I've investigated that, and as far as I know, the answer is it doesn't work. So just on that question there that was asked, yeah, what happens with... I grabbed a gear during this trade. Yeah, so if you use a 2-circuit resonator with Bloodstained Fossils, it does not seem to work. Yeah, there's always... I mean, the thing with graphics cards is that there's always new updates. There's always new stuff that comes out. There's always improvements. But sometimes you just need what works now as well. Anyways, let's go through elk all of these. So we have 60 elks, which means we have 10 too many. That's how we'll know if we've hit everything properly. And everything will be 20 quality because otherwise we would have run out of our catalysts. This is the reason that we are using things that are in our inventory rather than using elks from the stash tab. It's so that it's immediately apparent when we get to the end if we've missed one. In the previous video, I did miss one on a catalyst. I accidentally catalyzed something that was still in a rare state. I only blew 4 catalysts on it, which is not an expensive mistake, but it's good to just make those mistakes at some point where you're where you can learn from them and not really suffer for them. So all of these 50 are prepared for the gilded fossil phase. So that's the next step, is going to be to gilded fossil all of these ones that we've just done. We might find that we run out of space, in which case we are then going to have to consolidate some of these stacks down a little. And hopefully we can then almost fit all of them in. In fact, what we'll do is we'll move them out like that. Okay, so now all these ones that are to the right of there are done. So 20% quality, Ellen Phil. I didn't think of that. Power, we are going to be using gilded fossils. I did not use gilded fossils previously, but yeah, there is a chance. I'll get to that in a sec. HDM, how did I get these? I paid someone to do it for me. A guy named Meistigan. You'll see if you have a look down in the description of the video that I paid a mirror shard for 200 of them. And that was a case of me overpaying so that a trader was willing to just do all the bad work for me. I wouldn't have been interested in doing all that work. I probably wouldn't have done the test if I was going to be stuck doing that horrible part of it myself. So next step is going to be the gilded fossils, and actually we only can use 10 of them at the moment. Oh well, let's just stack them all in. This is all the gilded fossils we're going to use, and we'll go back to our tab. Now we can only do 50 of them at the moment. We've only got 50 that are ready. Interestingly, I've double-clicked a couple of those, so we'll have to go and fix that. R3L, I have not checked them today on the elk rings. One thing you can do, if you want to do this, is just make the stash tab you're working from public and make it one divine, and that will do the test for you. But I'm not doing it here. So yeah, I wasn't willing to do all of that, horrible trading that would have been necessary. So, as I said, I found someone who valued their time less than I did, and gave them a mirror shard for 200 of them. which was, what's that? At the time that I did that, that was basically paying 20C for each ring. And at the time that I did it, fair market value on those rings was about 9C. So it gives you a bit of a sense as to the amount that we were overpaying. So we're going to be going and throwing our gilded fossils on now. Believe that someone was telling me that you can do this. So what we're doing here, we are adding item cells for much more to vendors. I think this works, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Someone had mentioned there's a way to do these more efficiently, but I don't know it. Now what we want is vendor. So that will make it visible which ones are which ones have already been done, and that will indicate that they're good to go. And then at this point we can just pick out a few more. So this is me scaling up, Sean, this is me scaling up a video I did earlier where we're going to be trying to make Shaper Influence Call of the Brotherhood, which is something that was really popular a long time ago, then fell off in interest. But the utility case for it is to use it in conjunction with the unique item, the Eternity Shroud. That's the chess piece that you would actually use this with. I don't actually have any plans to play an Eternity Shroud build, but I'm going to make these things and see how we go with it. My speculation is that I'll get about 15 Call of Brotherhoods from this, but that's based on my guess as to how the Mythic Orbs work, and I'm not certain I'm right. I'm very much not certain I'm right. Power, that's an interesting point on the... if I wanted to do the lightning, the resist in blessing, the way I would do that is actually not 16%. It would be to type 16%. That's how I would check. And then if it's not, I can bless them. I don't have enough blessed orbs, and most of the implicits are going to go away anyway. So for that reason, I'm going to work to the assumption that it's... I'm going to work to the assumption that it's not going to be worthwhile doing that. But that is an option. Like, there's so many little things you can do that will have a slight impact on the ultimate result you get. I think the most important one is getting 20 quality efficiently. So making sure that we get our 20 quality things up as efficiently as possible. So these will be the ones that will have increased vendor awards on them, and they will all stand out in the stash. Well, the thing is that now actually the Shaper Influence stuff has come back. Something that I've got listed that I made very cheaply and that I've put at a ridiculous price and it hasn't sold. In my 18 Divine tab, I'll show it in a sec. But we have the new Trash to Treasure Omen. So where is it? This thing. Void Battery. 8% increased explicit caster damage modifier magnitudes, Shaper and Hunter influenced. How much do you think that cost me to craft? Because that was not expensive at all. Like, oh, when I say not expensive, it's still 5 divines, but it's only 5 divines. It's not way more than that. Aegis Aurora is another example. You can make a Shaper influence. You can make a double influence if you want in this league, because we've got that Omen that works like Trash to Treasure of old, but that doesn't have the extreme rarity that Trash to Treasure used to have. It seems like it's sort of way more common than Trash to Treasure was. I also think you can use this to make a... what's the name of that silly... I think you can use it to make a Shaper Kingmaker as well if you want. Like, that's much more of a silly item, but, you know, people like their bling. So, it's still cool. So yeah, you can make a whole bunch of things like that Void Battery doesn't usually get used with Eternity Shroud, but, you know, someone might decide to try and force two things together. Or Glorious Plate with... Yeah, Glorious Plate 15% life enchant is incredibly good. That's a really good example of something I hadn't thought of, but that is the key, like, is probably one of the best use cases. I think you could you use Chevron's Wrappings with Defense Enchant as well? No, Chevron's Wrappings has another... I think it has another base. I think there's another thing on that base. But still, there's a lot of things along those sorts of lines that you can put together now, that items that couldn't realistically exist in previous leagues. Like, there would be one or two of them in the league, but you couldn't aspire to having them. Or, no, maybe a better way to put it. Most players couldn't aspire to making one themselves. Some people might get lucky and get one. Michael S., the key mechanical influence on them is for the unique chest piece, the Eternity Shroud. There's also the unique gloves, Blasphemer's Grasp, which care about Elder Influence. So those are the two that matter. You're not having fun in the Simulacrum, FS? That's unfortunate. I've actually been having fun in Simulacrum this league. I'm not going to do it with my graphics card issues at the moment, but Simulacrum's just been fun on the Chieftain. I think because I normally play characters that are too squishy to do Simulacrum, so I'm not burnt out on it the way that most people are. Like, at least most endgame players play things all the time that are tanky enough that the Simulacrum's just reasonably boring. But normally I'll play stuff that's much more squishy. Okay, so now our next step is going to be to consolidate some of these into fewer inventory slots, because then, hopefully, once we've done that, we'll then be able to throw some more things in here. Oh, let's do the, let's scour the rest of this tab. So the ones on the left-hand side, we're scouring these. We're then going to catalyze them. And this should use up 24. So if we don't have 576 cats after this, then we've made a mistake. We've missed one. And we do have 576, so we did not make a mistake. So these are currently scoured. They need to be elked next, and then prepared with the same shenanigans here that we're doing currently. This time we're only going to lay out 6 of these, because at that point we'll be done with this. We'll be done with everything that we've prepared in this tab. Then we can probably do the Bloodstained Fossil step next. So throwing these into the tab. Make sure that everything that is in here that is Shaper influenced. Everything in here that is Shaper influenced is also catalyzed. So everything here is now done. Everything in this section is done. We'll now move on to the stage of the Bloodstained Fossils next. So I'm going to dump all these Gilded Fossils into this area of the inventory. Hopefully that will fit, and it does. Excellent. And now we have 56 Bloodstained Fossils to get out. And so I'll do that. And now we are going back to this tab, and we will then do all the Mythic Orbing for tab number 8. Sorry, for tab number 9. After this, so our next step is going to be what is corrupted. This shouldn't... Nothing should say... Ah, that's better. Why did it show up? That's it. What word is giving us this? Oh, corruption loop. It's the name. The item names are what's triggering it there. Islandthal, no, definitely not worth splitting them with Fracturing Fossils. So that's if you don't have any empty resonators in your inventory. That's probably worth my while doing. So that means I'm going to need to lay out 56 of these. So just a quick recap on Bloodstained Fossils. This got overhauled in 3.16. They used to do something completely different to what they do now. What they do now is they re-roll the mods on the item, modified by anything else that is in the fossil. And as well as that, they also apply a Vaal implicit corruption. It'll be a single corrupt, not a double. I think the other thing you need, FS, in the simulacrum is burst self-healing. Or not burst, self-healing is the wrong word. Like life recovery. Automated life recovery that is explosive. What have we got here? We got... Alright, we need to drop some of these resonators. I've just got to put these resonators back in the fossil tab, don't I? If with the thing people have said about them having to be empty for this to work. Sorry, not having any empties in there. With that being mandatory. And then at this point we'll have 56 of these. That's frustrating. These things are quite clunky to lay out. Like, really everything about placing fossils in resonators is just awkward. It'd be really useful if there was a better way to do this when you need to do it in bulk. And that's where the last one is. There's just spots you can click that are not obvious that don't work. Anyways, let's go back to our stash tab that we care about. Not this one. It is stash tab 9. And what we want here is ring, isn't it? And that'll be all. Apparently you now hold shift at this point. You'll notice that you can't then reapply them because these are corrupted, which makes things a little bit easier. We will have no space left in the inventory once we're finished with this slot. So everything will be prepared after this. We're not even checking what we're getting. Just that we can then go and do a quick search for corrupted afterwards if we don't find everything. Like if I've missed something, at the end we'll do a search for corrupted and that'll showcase what it was we missed. Alright, we did find everything, but if we didn't, it'd be like that. You'd be looking for the dim one. Okay, at this point it is time to go and destroy all these. So let's do our first test with the Mythic Orbs once we actually bring the stash up. And we'll go exotic currency, just 56 of them at this point. And let's test how many of these we end up annihilating. So, here we can find the ones we haven't yet hit by looking for ring. Looking for rare. This is not looking good so far. I'm starting to think that my hypothesis about how these work may very well be wrong, which is good to know. Honestly, I don't mind whether I make or lose currency on this. I just want to know how it works. Okay, so we got 5% stats. And it kept its natural implicit. This is really good. This one is really, really good. So we got 1 from 56, but that 1 is impressive. Additionally, we're going to get a Shaper Law Wave out of this too. So this one's fantastic, actually. Like, this is really, really quite top tier. How's the explicit rolls are not good, but that's money. That one's money. That's going to make up for the amount that we lost on all the rest of them. I am not fast with getting 1 from 56 out of that. When the 1 is that good. The other thing we want here is to know what we got. So we hit 24 Beric rings. I do believe it's 50-50 to get a unique. But yeah, so that's a really good start. Don't forget we've got a whole stash tab left, so we're not done. We've still got all of these to go through. Let's just remove all of these. But yeah, we got a good implicit, and it was and it removed the gilded implicit rather than the real implicit. One thing I don't know, actually, I don't know what's dominant when you apply, whether the Law Wave recipe is dominant or the gilded fossil is dominant. Yeah, you will get a Shaper Law Wave apparently out of vendoring 60 Shaper unique rings. I'm not certain that you'll get a Shaper Law Weave, that you'll get it with Corrupted Rings. I believe Corrupted Rings are fine. Anyways, let's go through the next tab. We're going to scour everything first. And scouring is always a huge amount of fun. So what we want to do here is go... Firstly, are there any magic rings? Yes, there is. Let's get rid of that one first, because that's going to be the easiest one to miss. Is normal a thing? Yeah, normal is a thing. Okay. Anyways. Let's just obliterate all of these. I do believe you're right, FS. I'm just not absolutely positive on that. Also have to check. There's one of the recipes from Gilded Fossils is quite impressive, and it's obvious. I think it's the one that gives you one of everything. Isn't there one that's like moderately valuable like that? But I have to check it. Yeah, ChatGPT style thing for PoE would be very hard to do. Honestly, don't think it will ever exist because the game changes so quickly, and also just like I can't see the money being there in making it. I do want to keep these here, don't I? So let's just grab all Turbulent Cats. Now this will draw from my inventory. The key problem with that, I'm gonna have to check that I hit everything. Do I own any more of these? I need to check how many catalysts I have. They're in the Metamorph tab, aren't they? What's the name of this catalyst? Turbulent. It's here. Okay, so I should finish with 14 in this tab after I've gone and enchanted everything here. But actually, no, let's just go 20%. Then everything that's not lit up... Oh, that one would have thrown me. Someone had already catalyzed one of them. Hey, Beck. Thank you for the super chat. May your Vaal Orbs have interesting results. And your Mythic Orbs, for that matter. We're 1 from 56 so far, but that one was impressive. That one had outstanding implicits on it, so it kept the 16% original, and it got 5% double stat. So it's in a very good state, that one. Oops, I just misclicked there. So the thing with double corrupts is that we have an extra corrupt on the on this one that we've got here because of the Gilded Fossil. That's the reason that we're doing this. The Gilded Fossil gives a 50-50 chance of having the intrinsic corruption on top. Double corrupted Call of Brotherhood, Shaper influenced is going to be, like, it's not remotely practical to make. Even with the new Omen, you're going to be going, like, you're going to be looking 100 Divines every time you hit it. Assuming you're about a 1 in 6 chance to get it when you get a unique. Yeah, I did do a quick check on normal, but yeah, you're right. Like, I wasn't sure that the word normal wouldn't come up in other contexts. That was my only concern with that. No, Crystallized Omniscience builds usually would not want to use this. This is for builds. Oh, you mean the double 5% stats? You've just got to have stats somewhere. Yeah. Like, it's not at max power. Yeah, Paris, this is like 576 clicks. It's a lot, but it's not in line with playing a channeling build for 10 maps, which is something I won't do because of the impact on risks. I will not play channeling builds like Divine Ire again. That's when I have learnt. Don't play that build. Yeah, that's the issue, Islandfield. But then rarity colon normal is a good point. Rarity semicolon normal, and there I go again. I right clicked that time, so we ended up. I made that mistake again. That will achieve it. A 3L, it's really a case of just price high, see what the market will bear. If you're the only person selling something, then if it's genuinely useful to rich players, it is expensive. I sold the last one I made, which was Grant Zealotry level 23, which I don't think of as a very strong corrupt, and it did not have the baseline implicit. That one sold for... I listed it at 10 divines, it didn't sell. I listed it at 9, it didn't sell. I then listed it at 8, and it did. So now let's just make sure that we have indeed got... We should have 18 total of these left over, because one of them was already qualityed, and we do. Cool. All right, we have now therefore gone and done all of the requisite making of them quality. Now at this point, our next step is going to be to elk everything, and here what we want to do is say, so rarity semicolon space normal. Again, something you can do that I'm not going to do on stream is you can check to see if any of these happen to miraculously roll well. And one way you can do that is by listing this tab as at 2 divines while you do it. You will need to change instance in order to make that work. So if you get 1 ping for an item, then obviously you sell it. But it's not very likely. Put it that way. You know, elking a ring is the same as identifying one, and we all know how bad. Actually, no, it's worse. Identifying a shaper influenced item guarantees you at least 1 shaper implicit now. Sorry, shaper explicit, always has. So yeah, it's going to be worse on average than that. Fossil time. I think we have some fossils in the other tab, so let's grab these gilded fossils. 6 of those. Actually, no, let's only grab 5 lots, and then we'll go and grab 5 lots of these. And do the horrible part, which is going to be to go back to this tab. And let's start playing this awful game of drop all of these out. Yeah, Spirit, you are right. There is something about it, but I'm not sure what it is, other than you can force an API refresh by changing instance. I know you can force it that way. I'll do the whole layout, all of these things. Oops. Ah, I hate it when that happens. So clunky, these things. But anyway, this is the gilded fossil phase. Island Thought, I believe there is a bias of release Yellow Beast first, but I don't know how it works beyond that. It certainly doesn't have a bias towards releasing the least valuable, let's put it that way. One of my rings has 20% defense quality. Thank you for pointing that out. That's the one that was already... Thank you. This is why it's useful to have someone in chat. The one that was already qualityed was the wrong quality on it. So thank you for noticing that and saving me from an embarrassing, expensive... Well, possibly just a disappointing mistake if it actually survived. So, Metamorph tab, grab these 4. So we have now refixed that. and we will then go. Fun fact, you can use an orb of binding to alch something instead of using a binding orb, instead of using an alchemy orb. Sometimes it's cheaper. Not that it really matters all that much. So let's just... Hang on, it's elemental damage. Cool. And we just make sure that we got it right on the other one. Spirit Kid certainly doesn't do anything useful. I think that, I think the way you would test that is by just by doing it with an Omen of Fortune in your inventory. What exactly happens? I feel like it doesn't become unique. I feel that's the way that it works, but I'm honestly not 100% certain on that. Okay, oops. Let's set this up so that now we will set out 50 of these. Which is almost a third of the tab. This is something where we don't want to misclick because I don't know that I've got spare gilded fossils. I think I do, but if I don't have gilded fossils and if I roll twice on the same one, that's going to feel really bad. I feel like I have 205 of them though. I feel like I did loot a couple myself, as well as the ones that I bought. Okay, so that's 50 of those ready. Now at this point, we can just grab 50 Bloodstained Fossils and 50 Mythic Orbs and test that out. So let's do the next batch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's just lay these things out here. Yeah, FS, there's a lot of weird inconsistencies like that. Especially with what you can use fossils on as well. Like, for instance, these Bloodstained Fossils cannot be used on Heist gear at all because they can't get Vaal implicits. Can do. That has been definitely stealth nerfed. That thing with Lava Chamber has definitely been stealth nerfed. You can still run the map normally if you just want to chase down Divine Beauty direct drops, but I think you're better off doing that on... really, if you want to farm Divine Orb cards, farm the Fortunate. The Fortunate is able to drop from any monster in the zone. Yeah, the Kirak mission stuff has definitely been stealth nerfed. I'm now confident to say that it definitely just flat out does not work. Which honestly I'm happy with. I wanted that thing nerfed because it was not going to be fun, and it was going to be really bad if you had someone start playing in the middle of the league and start asking about currency strategies, and you're like, hey, there's this one you could do, except, oh, by the way, you finished Lava Chamber, so now you're locked out of it. Bad luck. No fun for you this league. So I think it's really good that they did nerf it. But at some point, it was nerfed. It does appear to work for everything except Divine Beauty. That's a boss drop. But the thing is that it's not worth doing on those cards. Actually, has it... Are you still in chat, Krolio? Do you know if it's been re-verified this league for whether it works for Sephiroth? I believe it was verified in the past, but these things, being changed at various points. The strategy in general worked, even if not Lava Chambers specifically. The strategy definitely worked in theory on... Oh, well, definitely worked with other cards. Cards you wouldn't want to farm. As I say, I'm fine with it being nerfed. It was a bad thing to have in the game. So see here, this first one, it's kept its traditional implicit, but it's lost its Vaal implicit. This one has kept the Vaal implicit as well. Oh, sorry, it's kept the gilded implicit. What we want to do here is just go through and hit 50 of them. Make sure that we don't accidentally hit one of the ones that is not yet prepped, because that would be embarrassing to waste that. Okay, so there we've got 50 that are Mythic Orb bait. One thing I am curious, are we getting 50-50 that are each way they could go? Yeah, this is a majority of the 2 stone rings that we've got here kept the gilded fossil implicit, but it's still within normal expected variance. So I don't expect there's any bias as to which thing is removed. Hadn't honestly thought about that before, about testing that in the past. Now I'm just going to split this into 10 and 10. And here we go, another set of 50 that are going to get destroyed. Maybe with us keeping 1 or 2 good things out of it. Oh, we got the wrong thing. Oh, there's a Call of the Brotherhood. Oh, there's 2 more Calls of the Brotherhood. So now what we want to do is check unique. Oh, hang on, no. Rare is what we want to check. We missed one, so there it is. Call of the Brotherhood, we got 4 out of that lot of 50. The first one is pretty much a mirror of the earlier one. 5% to 2 stats, and Cold and Lightning resist kept. Zealotry effect, that's one of the better ones, I think. Zealotry is not that widely used on Call of Brotherhood builds, but it is usable. It is something people will sometimes use. Hatred effect, this one's magnificent. This is the best we've got, even though the other implicit on it's trash. And 16 all rares, but unfortunately not the double resist implicit. Still, that's looking pretty solid there. Now, let's go through all our barrack strings. And we got... Oh, we'll count them once they're all... Once they're all in the stash is a bit easier to count. Oh, sorry, out of the stash, they're a bit easier to count. So this lot we got exactly 50-50. So 21 that went barracks, 4 that went Call of the Brotherhood. This is in line with my predictions going in. The first batch of 56 that we did were below my anticipation, below my expectations, but we shall see exactly how it winds up once we have all the numbers, not just some of them. But yeah, Hatred effect. Unfortunately, not a perfect 20%. If we got a perfect 20% one, that would have been a monster of an item. But it is still really good. So, and it's actually second perfect, 19% aura effect on Hatred. That is monumental, that one. That is the most valuable item I own in the league. These ones, let's have a look at these. No, like not monumental. This one's probably pretty good. And these 2 are pretty solid as well. Yeah, really, actually... 3 of these are pretty good, and even the All-Res one is fine. But this is the best item I've got in the league now. Yeah, this would be worth something even if it wasn't Shaper. You're right, Night Shadow's right. This would be worth quite a bit. Even at 19%, this would be worth something even if it was not Shaper. With Shaper, it's... like, the intersection between the people that want them is going to be a bit smaller because you kind of have to be a Call of the Brotherhood person for that to be better. But I could see this one being... This is definitely... The next most valuable item I own is a Mirror Shard in this league, and this is more than a Mirror Shard. I'm sure of that. What would I say on that? Maybe... I feel like 2 Mirror Shards on the Hatred one. That's where I'm going to list it. I'm going to list it at 2 Mirror Shards. I'm not sure it will sell, but it's one of those things that there might be someone on who would be willing to... Like, if it was listed higher than 2 Mirror Shards, it might sell, but it also might not sell all league. It is a case of something that's really good. A Quant Call of the Brotherhood. That would be... is Quant even available on rings? Isn't it belts that rolls Quant? I'm honestly not sure on that. I haven't checked all of the Vaal implicits. That's one that I probably should know about because it's one that's going to be one of the better ones. But anyway, We have here. I'm just going to remove one here. And my purpose in doing that is that I want to have a bit of a break in there so that if I make any misclicks, I don't end up stuffing myself up. Let's now go with resonators. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gilded fossils. Oh, hang on. The gilded fossils are in the other tab. They're in this tab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's go through this painful process again. Gilded fossils first. You can hit quant and rarity. Oh, okay. Bleed immune is one of my favorite corruptions on the ring slot. A barracks with quant in the second batch. I could well have. I'll check that in a sec. I don't know what that can do. And also, someone asked me what build I'm playing. This is a Searing Bond / Righteous Fire Chieftain. If my PC was in a better state at the moment, I would demonstrate with some content at some point. But this stream was for a specific purpose, though. So I'd rather just run through it with this. So let's check for quant. You're correct, 3% quantity of items found, so it's minimum roll. But maybe that's not worth lore weaving. If you can lore weave corrupted items, I'm not sure you can. Ugh, so much clunk. It depends where on the thing you click. That's the really frustrating thing with fossil slotting. If you hit the corner of the thing, then you end up stuffing it up. And picking up it thinks you're trying to swap the tab over. There really should be a way in the delve tab to prepare 10 resonators at once. So you prepare one resonator, and then you ask the game, replicate that for me, using my fossils and my resonators. If you hold shift while placing, you can't... Thank you for that, Seawell. So the way that works is that if you click in the wrong spot, then... Oh, hang on. Yeah, it doesn't work, but if you click in the wrong... But it's less disruptive when you get it wrong. So that's an improvement. Thank you for that. So these are all our gilded fossils ready. Let's go and drop down some gilded fossils in this tab. So again, we want to go... Ah, someone just followed over on Twitch. It's always funny when that happens if I'm doing something else. Go and get all of our gilded fossil work done. Honestly, I think gilded fossils are just one of those really bad mechanics in the game. Like, they do add a little bit of extra power. There's no question that the Call of the Brotherhoods that I've hit, some of them are better for me having done this gilded fossil stuff. But it's just not really satisfying to use. It just feels like pointless clunk. It is pointless clunk. And it's, yeah, I'd rather it wasn't in the game. But when it's in the game, you're going to feel like you've got to use it. And we have another 44 of them, is it? Yes, 44 to go. And these are our gilded fossils. We would probably need all of them or close to it. No, we don't. No, we have way too many gilded fossils. Ah, that's right. I couldn't get the right number of gilded fossils, could I? So we're placing them out with shift now. But unfortunately, when you're placing them out with shift at this point, if you double click on one square, you end up putting a second one there, which is really annoying. Not what you want to do. Oh, so Islandthor's just confirming that if you do attempt to chance orb something that is a Searing Exarch influenced item, then it will lose the Searing Exarch influence as part of the process. I knew that you couldn't get the... I knew that you couldn't double dip on the rewards. I just wasn't sure how the game enforced that. Because otherwise you would see a lot of copies of things like Calm's Heart with 20%... aura effect on it, which would just be nuts. Like, that'd be so good. Not for every build, actually. Kaom's Heart is one of those items that hasn't aged well for a lot of builds, but for the builds it's good on, it's a monster. Heist enchants are kept though, so you can get yourself a glorious plate that has a Heist enchant on it, and then use the Omen. I think that can still only hit Kaom's Heart. Oh, correction, no, that can hit Perfidy as well. And Perfidy will be more common now, because it used to be that Kaom's Heart was tier 2, Perfidy was tier 1, but I believe now Kaom's Heart is an uncertain tier. If you do see one in Ritual, let me know what its cost is exactly. Oh, sorry, you're talking about Gilded Fossil to Sierra. Yeah, okay, that's... I think what happens if you apply the Exarch implicit first? So you do your Exarch and Eater implicits, then after that you apply a Gilded Fossil. That'd be the other thing you could conceivably test, but at that point we're starting to just get silly. Almost there. Bloodstained Fossils come next, and that's going to be the end of this experiment once we've done all the remaining Mythic Orbing. Cosprey's Malice is a good idea, actually. I hadn't thought of that. Cosprey's Malice isn't usually used with Eternity Shroud, but could be. Cosprey's Malice has really fallen off the radar of late. The Calandra Ring copies everything, yes, but the Calandra Ring does not care about any implicits that happen to be on the Calandra Ring. So for Calandra's touch, that's the way that ends up working out. Okay, let's grab our Bloodstained Fossils. We have 94 of them. Guess we'll just grab all of them, put them into the tab at this point. So let's go to our correct tab. So everything here has now got the vendor recipe on it, but nothing is corrupted yet. So our next step is going to be to lay out all of these fossils, and then to apply our Bloodstained Fossils to everything, get these into a corrupt state, and see how we go. Oh, for Heist enchant, yeah, that would be worth a look into. I don't think there's anything else on that base, is there? The Cosprey's Malice base. In any case, there's a lot of things that you can do. Void Battery, I have a Void Battery that's got a Heist enchant and double influence on it. Double influence is just bling, but unless you wanted to use Eternity Shroud with it, then the Shaper one would count. Yeah. Picking them up again because I'm not holding shift. So much clunk on these things. If an item is Shaper and something else influenced, then it is. The other item that you might not be thinking of, Ali, is Blasphemer's Grasp is the other one that... Well, and also the Disintegrator. So there are a few. Blasphemer's Grasp is, like... It was really good until Eldritch Implicits came along. It's still kind of good. It's almost good enough to use, is where I would put it. It's certainly something that you can use early league. Put it that way. Now, we'll do all of our corruption on these. And now we have another 44 to prepare. After which, we're going to be Mythic Orbing. Who's excited for some Mythic Orb bricking? No, I'm not using any macros, Night Shadow, at the moment. I probably should be for this. Like, the macros that are within the limits, within GGG's limits, are very useful for anything like this. It's just that I don't usually do this sort of magnitude of attempts on things. This is something I thought of I thought of moderately early in the league and was like, I want to test this out. I got the inspiration when I realized that the rarity of Call of Brotherhood was reduced. So I was going through the information people who have been tiering all the uniques had found, and they'd proven beyond doubt that Call of Brotherhood was reduced to tier 3 rarity, whereas historically it was tier 2 in 3.14. I suspect this took place in 3.19, but I'm not certain of that. 3.19 was when all of the big unique buffs took place, and a lot of the items that weren't buffed were made more common. Interestingly, Badge of the Brotherhood was made common as well. Then not common, but it's tier 2 rarity. It's the same rarity as Chevron's wrappings now. Now, I'm doing this the random click in space way because I've got the... I know I can't double click something because it's these Bloodstained Fossils corrupt things. And now we've got the last 96. We've prepared them all. Let's give it a go. Exotic currency, Mythic Orbs. Let's take them all out and we are going to go and burn some items. 2 calls in that column. Next column, brick nearly everything. Also, we just want to check for rare items because we are missing some clicks. Why do I have 2 Mythic Orbs left over? How does that work? Hey, Peter. Yes, so the quality of stream issue is that this is being uploaded at 1080 and it's actually being played in 1080 as well because my graphics card decided to go boom. So let's go firstly... How does this work? How did we have 2 Mythic Orbs left over? Did I have 202 all along? I kind of must have, hey. I definitely did. Yeah, I must have just had extras. Anyways, Call the Brotherhood. We got 6. Grant's Wrath. Hatred Effect and Resist. Yep, that's good. Anger Effect is a brick, unfortunately. Flat Lightning is a real implicit. Rarity, and it's a middle tier rarity roll. And Wrath Effect. I think we did pretty well here. Yeah, okay, thanks, Path. So I must have had 200. I must have had 202 Mythic Orbs at the start of this then. Yeah, I did know I had... Yeah, you're right. Anyways, we definitely hit everything. That's the main thing we wanted. So, we got 12 Call of the Brotherhood overall in the end. Sorry, we got 11 Call of the Brotherhood overall. What's this one? Wrath Effect and a little bit more. That's... Actually, like, all of these are quite good. This one feels like it's more at the lower end. What about this one? This one's monstrous again. Monstrous like this. Anger is actually not very good. So that's like the worst we have. That's a mod. And that is at the better end of the ones that are not monstrously good. And now let's combine all of our other rings up. Yeah, the thing with Tier 1 and Tier 2, we don't actually know how common Tier 1 and Tier 2 things are. There is definitely a big gap between them, but it is one of the smaller jumps from tier to tier. And what's this thing doing here? Oh yeah, that's the quantity barracks that I mentioned was worth keeping aside because it was something a little bit special. Yeah, only one quantity. Yeah, so the Wrath effect, yeah, Wrath effect is at least in this tier. There was a Zealotry effect as well. Zealotry effect goes there. As I see it, 2 magnificent, 4 solid, 4 genuinely good, and 1 marginal. Kylie, the answer for Shaper Influence is the synergies with the Eternity Shroud. It's only people who run a build around the Eternity Shroud that care that it's Shaper Influence, but for those people, it's irreplaceable, and it's much harder to make a Shaper Influenced ring than it is to get a normal Call of the Brotherhood. And in general purpose, like outside the context of Eternity Shroud, Shaper Influenced items have more things in their rare item mod pool. You think the flat is really good as well? 2 to 32. What tier is that? There's multiple tiers to that mod, aren't there? Alright, well, we'll just consider it in the second tier. Now, the other thing we can do is we can vendor a whole bunch of these. I believe there's actually quite a bunch of vendor recipes that are all going to compete here, and I'm not sure which one's going to win. I'm going to offer to the vendor all of these. I'm going to offer them 60 of these to see if I can get a Law Wave that's Shaper Influence from them. And if I can, I think I'm going to just take that, because no one's going to want Beric's the long day. No one's going to want these unless they're an extraordinary implicit. So now we have Gilded Fossils. We have the catalysts are coming up from the vendor recipe where you vendor two items that are 20% quality, and you get a catalyst. This is going to be a mess as to see which one ends up winning out, but it may be that we can get a Shaper Law Wave. I'm just going to confirm that is indeed the case. No, you do not get a Law Wave from this. This is not a Law Wave recipe here. That's interesting. So I thought that there was a chance that this would be the Law Wave recipe. What we're seeing here is 13 copies of the Turbulent Catalyst recipe, which is any combination of rare items that add up to 40% caster quality. Elemental damage modifier quality. Then we have a few things that are just vendoring as Beric's Respites, happen to vendor. And then we've got a bunch that are vendoring as per the vendor recipe for the implicits. Whatever the case, we're not going to take that trade. So Lawweave does not work out there. Apparently Lawweave does work with corrupt rings, yes. That's what I've heard anyway. I haven't personally verified. I would have thought that Lawweave would not work. That's but the wiki says that it does. I don't have any other Shaper rings. Shaper influenced unique rings. Only these two. Like, the only things that have been made here. So, something is winning out. It may be that the wiki is wrong and corrupt rings can't be used. It may be that the wiki is right, corrupt rings can be used, but the Gilded Fossils are overruling it. It may be that the quality is overruling it. There's a whole bunch of things there. Apparently tamings do keep the influence, but I can't verify that. I can't confirm whether the taming recipe works with corrupted items. And I also don't know whether you can... Yeah, I don't know whether you can... I don't know whether you can vendor the corrupted items for it. I also don't know if you can vendor qualityed items, because qualityed items, you might get that 40% quality vendor recipe for catalyzed jewelry. May take over as well. Andy B, yeah, there were 94 in that last lot because I started with a stash tab of 144 and a second tab that had 56 in it. So I definitely did 200 in total. I used up everything that I had, and I must have started with 202 Mythic Orbs rather than 200. May have looted 2 recently. Okay, so let's just quickly summarize what we got here. We got 75 Barracks rings. And we got 11 Call of the Brotherhood. This is sort of, but not quite in line with my expectations going in. 86 total Mythic Orb hits is within line of reasonable variance if it is exactly 50-50. But we also can't rule out that it isn't 50-50. And yeah, my Mythic Orbs did have interesting results. I think that this, if you decide that you want to run a Eternity Shroud build, and who knows, maybe I will do this, then I have the best 2 rings for it. I probably have the 2 best Call of the Brotherhoods on the server, unless that's happened. Cost of all of this is broken out in the description of the video. I'm just having a quick look at that now because I did work it all out, but then I can't remember it in my head. I overpaid for the Shaper Influenced rare rings. I paid a Mirror Shard for all 200 of them because I didn't want to do all that trading. So I'm just going to check the description myself, which I can do from the back end, but isn't actually a fast process to get into it. Let's have a quick look at that. So outcome to fill in later: 75, Call the Brotherhood 11, destroyed entirely 114, Call implicits, hatred 19%, hatred 16% with resist kept. And what else do we get in the way of implicits? We got zealotry 16%, wrath 17%. Zealotry was 16%, wrath 17% with resist. We have 24% rarity with resist. We have Grant's Wrath 21. We have Tier 2 Flat Lightning with resist. We have 5% Strength Dex with resist. I'm just going to fill in all of that in the in that thing there. 5%. That's actually times 2. We've got 2 of the same ring, except the resist quantity is a bit different. 16% auras, but we lost the original implicit, and we got anger effect. Anger 16% with resist. I had 202 in there. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so just having a look there, I paid 49 divines. You could pay less than that. I paid a premium to get the Bloodstained Fossils in bulk, so you could have got those for 5 instead of 7. The Mythic Orbs I got a bargain on because I bought them before they went up. Not that they've gone up much. The Shaper Influence rings, I paid essentially a 10 divine fee to the buyer. So realistically, you could get this lot for 39 divines. Yeah, you could get 39 divines is what this would cost you, but it would cost you hours as well to do all the trading. LNBC, 50-50 my speculation is only applies if there is at least one unique item that is tier 4 or tier 5. The reason that we think this is that where there are both tier 4 and tier 5 items, it still seems like it's 50% that get destroyed. So if you take, I think it's the leather belt and heavy belt, I think that these have an enormous amount of uniques on them, including some very, very common ones. In these cases, my original speculation was that Mythic Orbs had, you know, some sort of waiting for Destroy, which might be 2,000, and then a waiting for Tier 5 unique, which might be 2,100, a waiting for Tier 4 uniques, which might be 1,500, a waiting for Tier 3, which might be 300, a waiting for Tier 2, which might be 50, etc, etc. This is how I thought they worked, and someone proved me wrong by analysing sample sizes of leather belts and heavy belts. So it was definitely not possible to get massively more than 50%. Now here we've got a Tier 3 and a Tier 4 unique. Power, that's quite possible. I'm not going to bother that much with the Lloyd. I think I'm going to keep this stream reasonably short and call it at this point. But I was just interested to see how that worked. So I went into this expecting maybe to get 15. I got 4 less than I thought, which I'm fine with. There's some information to be learnt from this, as well as that if you're wanting to play Eternity Shroud and Eternity Shroud, Call of the Brotherhood, well, these are the best strings that are going to exist for a while until other people do exactly what I've done here. And when other people do exactly what I've done here, they will get Hatred 20%. But for the moment, this is a absolutely monstrously good rings. I think I'm going to leave it there. May everyone's Mythic Orbs have interesting results. And I think at the moment, it's my honest opinion that Mythic Orbs are underpriced in the Trade League at the moment, that they should probably be in the 25 to 30C range. I say that without having pre-bought them, but I think that there's just a lot of things like this that you can do that can get extremely obscure items that are extremely good for certain builds, and that there's more demand for those niche builds than people give credit for.